Okie, I think we are good to go. Hey, welcome. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the second episode of the iPoke MMA podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Orr. Today we're going to be going over UFC Fight Night London. We got some fisticuffs being thrown down in jolly old London on Saturday afternoon. And for us, it's Saturday afternoon. It's been a while since we had a good card on a Saturday afternoon, but I'm very much looking forward to it. So, welcome. We're going to be going over the main card of this fight. So it starts pretty early. I think it starts at noon ish, and then the main card will probably start around 3 o'clock from what I saw. So, very much looking forward to it. This is actually a pretty good card for a fight night. I mean, it's arguably as good, maybe as good as some of the most recent pay-per-view fights we've had that have been kind of on the boring side of life. But hey, it's we got a fight night card on ESPN Plus. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm very much looking forward to it. I'm very much looking forward to the main event, which we're going to be talking about to kick off the show. So if you haven't already, please please subscribe. It would help me a ton. I'm trying to get this show off the ground, and your support is much appreciated. So let's go ahead and get this show on the road. So first off, in the welterweight division, we have Sean Brady hopping over across the pond to take on Leon Edwards in a 5-round welterweight main event. Now, Brady is sitting at a -160 favorite, and we have the former welterweight champ Leon Edwards sitting as a +130. I just think it's kind of odd that he's an underdog in his in front of his hometown crowd, but hey, there are actually several fights that are like that on this card, which I think are very unusual. So, just to start with this, bettors have been leaning on Leon starting early in the week. I've seen a little bit of money trend toward his direction as the underdog. I mean, but the thing is, Brady as the favorite at 160, I think it actually kind of makes sense, and I think I think a lot of that is based on recency bias, based on Leon's most recent fights and how they've turned out. He lost the belt to Bilal Muhammad in Manchester, which I had Bilal Muhammad in that fight because he's a smart fighter, and I knew exactly what he was going to do: take Leon down, take away his weapons, take away his range, take away what got him the belt in the first place whenever he knocked out Usman with that head kick. I mean, it's just and there's a lot of recency bias there, and I feel like, does that mean Edwards is done? Absolutely not. I think Edwards still has a lot in the tank. He's 32. He's got plenty left in the tank. And, will he become like sort of a gatekeeper? I mean, that remains to be seen. And I think this fight is going to be telling us a lot about that. Now Brady, he's the up and comer here. I mean, he's a very, very, very good grappler, very heavy-handed striker, and he likes to maintain pressure on the feet throughout the whole fight. He tends to, he tends to heat up a little in later rounds, but then again, Edwards has more 5-round experience than Brady does. So it kind of gets me thinking, with a similar style to that of Bilal Muhammad, we're talking about Brady here, he has to utilize that cardio edge in order to maintain pressure, on Edwards throughout the entire fight. I mean, now I gotta say, even though Brady has won his last two against Gaslam and Gilbert Burns in very dominant fashion, I mean, those two are on their way out. So I think this is going to be a huge test for Brady, even though he did win those last two in dominant fashion. His only UFC loss is against Bilal Muhammad. So basically what Brady needs to do if he's going to win this fight, he needs to maintain relentless pressure for all 5 rounds of the fight. Now, if he starts to fight in early rounds, I think on the back foot, that's where Leon is going to take over. I mean, he's going to keep Brady at range, stuff takedowns. It's just, I mean, he's going to be breaking if Leon keeps Brady at bay through the early rounds of the fight, I think he's going to walk away with this. I think he's going to walk away with a win here as an underdog in his in front of his hometown crowd. So he has to take. Now, if he's gonna win, if Brady's gonna win, he has to take Leon down early. He has to take him down often, and he has to keep Leon on the back foot, because if he's on the back foot, I mean, in the early, if Brady's on the back foot in the early rounds of the fight, I mean, I don't think he's gonna win this. So, my pick here is actually be Leon. I'm gonna pick him to win this fight via decision. I mean, I think he could possibly get a knockout here if Brady decides to recklessly rush in and maybe catch one on the chin. But I think, I'm pretty confident this fight's going to go to decision. I think that both fighters have enough tools in their arsenal to pull out a decision win. Now, once again, I just want to bring up that Leon is a big step up, I think, compared to previous competition that Brady has won against. So, and I think, Burns, and it's safe to say that Gilbert Burns and Kelvin Gastelum are in the downturn of their career. So, I also don't see, another reason I'm going to pick Leon via decision here is that I don't see him losing twice in a row in England. I mean, if he does, then I think it's safe to say that Leon is now officially in the downturn of his career that all of us thought was coming a little bit earlier. But yeah, I mean, I don't see him getting I actually don't see him losing this one. I think he'll finally get a win in London, and I think he's going to see where he's going to become sort of a gatekeeper for the upper echelons of the division. I mean, he is the number 1 ranked, while Brady is, I believe, the number 5 ranked, if I remember correctly. But yeah, but I don't see Leon losing twice in a row in England. He's actually never been finished in his entire career, and I actually don't see that happening for the first time Saturday. If anything, maybe a submission would be a threat to him, but yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and pick Leon via decision here. I also think that the rankings are going to be getting pretty interesting if Brady actually does manage to pull off a win in enemy territory. But regardless, I've got Leon for the win. I mean, it's just, and not a hugely confident pick, but I think it's something that I think Edwards via decision would be good. And speaking of betting, I mean, odds aren't terrible. I mean, once again, it's Brady's at -160 and Edwards is at +130. He's had a little bit of money coming in on him early in the week. Edwards has, and now I think now -185 for this fight going to decision, I think, is really not a bad way to go if you're not confident on either fighter like me, but I mean, Edwards via decision is at +225, which, I mean, that's pretty good money. That's pretty good dog money right there. But I think the safest bet easily would be for either fighter here to get the decision at -185. But it's kind of hard for me to lean hard either way. But and hey, if Edwards manages to catch Brady on the chin, it's +600 for Edwards to get the knockout. So hey, I mean, if you're feeling brave for this main event, I mean, you could go with that. But I think the safest bet here would be either of these fighters to get a decision at -185, and like I said, Edwards via decision at +225. Not a bad way to go either. So, but. And if you're tending to lean Brady on this one, I would say pick Brady to win. I say picking Brady to win would probably be a safe bet. But like I said, my pick's Leon. I think he's going to win via decision, but the safest bet, decision for either fighter at -185. So we're going to go ahead and move on. We're going to go down to the co-main event. We've got savvy veteran Jan Blachowicz at the number 3 ranked light heavyweight versus the number 6 ranked light heavyweight Carlos Ulberg. It's going to be 3 rounds. Ulberg's the one who's up and coming here. He's at 11-1, and the former light heavyweight champion Jan Blachowicz is sitting at a record of 29-10. Now, I mean, I can't believe Jan Blachowicz is still fighting the way that he is at his age. I mean, he just turned 42 a few weeks ago. He is 8 years older than Ulberg coming into this matchup, and that goes to say that, I mean, Jan still has a little bit in the tank. I mean, he lost via split decision against Alex Pereira, who, just lost the belt to Ankalaev, who has been, a world beater and has been on a tear since he knocked out Israel Adesanya, and since he got knocked out by Israel Adesanya. Now, and he also, hell, he went to a draw against Magomed Ankalaev just 6 months before his fight with Pereira. So, he's still out there fighting the best of the best in the division. And he's fighting well. He's not getting dominated in any stretch of the imagination. So, but however, we do have to bring up that the last time he's arguably earned a legitimate win was when he defended the belt against former middleweight champion Israel Adesanya. But if you remember that fight, Izzy, he came into those weigh-ins as a natural middleweight. He came to those weigh-ins with, pizza in his hand, after eating, to try to make 205. And I think he was slightly under, if I remember correctly. So, there were people who were talking about him becoming a double champ at that time. And I said, there is no way Israel Adesanya, he had to have a knockout to win that fight. There's no way in hell Israel Adesanya is going to come up to light heavyweight having to eat in order to make the 205 and beating Jan Blachowicz. It's not going to happen. There's absolutely, anyway, but, I had full confidence Blachowicz was going to get the win in that fight by any means necessary. But, it's just that was his last win. And, but his biggest, most recent win, Jan Blachowicz, was whenever he knocked out Dominic Reyes when he was a plus 205 underdog to win the belt in 2020. So, 5 years later, he's still going strong. It's only a matter of time. Let's be real. It's only a matter of time before we start to see Jan Blachowicz decline. This could be, and this matchup with Carlos Ulberg, the up and comer, could be that. That much is certain that he doesn't have much, that Jan doesn't have much longer. But he could become sort of a gatekeeper if he doesn't retire. So. But this fight is going to tell us a lot about where Jan Blachowicz is going to be going at this point in his career. Now, let's talk about Carlos Ulberg. This guy is a very hard hitter. This guy comes out heavy and fast, like he did against Alonzo Menafield, knocking him out in the first round. But one thing that I've noticed whenever Ulberg got knocked out in his debut by Kennedy Nzechukwu was that after he came out hard and heavy in the first round, he basically just there was little to no head movement, and I think that's why that's basically why he got knocked out. So, and watching that fight compared to his most recent fight, his head movement has improved, but what's mostly improved is his accuracy. It's his output. I think that, as long as Ulberg is able to keep Jan Blachowicz at bay in terms of takedowns, in terms of striking, it's his fight to win. Now, he's going to, it's safe to say Ulberg's going to be looking for Jan's head early and often. So, I don't really see takedowns in the planning. I feel like this fight's going to be mostly standing, but now, if Jan happens to go the takedown route and he happens to get Ulberg down, I'd say at least a couple times and get ground control time. I think there's a good chance that Jan Blachowicz could win this fight. Let's see. Let me go back to the odds here. Now, just a second, guys. Sorry. So, we're sitting at Ulberg's sitting at a minus 290, and at some sports books he's sitting at minus 300. And the comeback on Blachowicz is plus 235. So, so basically Ulberg, I think, needs to defend takedowns, and he needs more output on the feet than Blachowicz, because I think if Jan starts landing takedowns, I really question Ulberg's ground game in that sense. So, But I mean, there's also a good chance Jan could take over later. Also, I mean, Jan is going to need constant pressure on the feet, and he's going to have to utilize takedowns. He cannot keep this. He cannot keep this fight standing and expect to win, unfortunately. So, if Jan gets those takedowns, he maintains ground control and he gets, he takes 2 rounds. Of course, I think he can secure a decision win here. Now, my pick here is Carlos Olberg. I don't know if I'm going to lay minus 290 on him, but I legitimately think that Olberg is going to be headhunting, and I think he has potential to get Jan out pretty early. Now, just to kind of go over the odds here, I mean, like I said, minus 290 is a bit heavy of a price tag for me to be landing on an up-and-comer like Carlos Olberg. I need to see more from him. He's very, very good, don't get me wrong, but I need to see a little bit more from him before I lay that kind of money on him. But, I mean, now, however, Olberg via TKO looks pretty enticing. That's plus 165. Olberg via decision is at plus 140. This is all DraftKings Sportsbook, by the way. Now, a decision win for either fighter is minus 125. I mean, which actually does look pretty enticing, but I'm actually pretty confident Olberg will get the win here, and we're going to start to see Jan Blachowicz kind of fading a little bit. As far as unfortunately, it's coming, but it's I think Olberg is going to be putting on a lot of pressure on him, and I'm pretty confident that Olberg's going to get the win here, but. Also another prop that I thought was interesting was Olberg via TKO round 1, which is, definitely possible. I mean, if Thiago Santos can do it, I think Olberg has the power to do it as well. But it's just, Olberg's a very heavy hitter, and I think if he relies on his hands in this fight, keeps Jan at bay, I think he'll walk away with a win with either a knockout or a decision win. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on. We're going to go down to one of I love this guy. I hate this guy. It's kind of weird, but we've got Kevin Holland taking on Gunnar Nelson in a welterweight bout. Keyword here is welterweight because Kevin Holland's been fighting at middleweight recently. Kevin Holland is he's taking on Gunnar Nelson. Nelson is sitting as a minus 130 favorite with Holland as a plus 105 underdog. Pretty much a coin flip. There's a little bit of money coming in for Holland earlier in the week, but seeing Holland become a favorite, like seeing the odds flip and becoming a favorite, I don't see it just because of just how savvy Gunnar Nelson is on the ground and how prone to takedowns and submissions Kevin Holland is, even though Kevin Holland is a black belt just like Gunnar Nelson. Now let's talk about Kevin Holland. I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, I hate. This is like when I was on the show with Eric last time for UFC 313. I hate betting on Jalen Turner because of his fight IQ. Well, the same thing goes with Kevin Holland because of his fight IQ. I absolutely hate betting on Kevin Holland and I'm not really sure if I'm going to do it here. Now, it's just, the big question in everybody's mind is where's his head at? I mean, he spends so much. I mean, he spends a lot of time playing with his food in a lot of past fights. He likes. He talks during fights. I mean, I remember one fight where he's talking to Daniel Cormier like, hey, I'm working on my takedown defense. What do you think? So it's just, he likes to play around a lot. He's fun on the mic. He's a fan favorite. As far as a fighter goes, I don't see him ever even getting close to winning a belt at any point. But he's a fan favorite. That's why people like watching him fight. That's why he keeps getting fights. So, now, as far as Holland goes, he got subbed in his last fight by number 3 ranked Rainier de Ritter, and and this was a very, very quick submission. He got absolutely ragdolled, thrown down, and de Ritter did basically whatever he wanted with him. And I think and if you have any sort of grappling takedowns in your arsenal, that is Kevin Holland's kryptonite. And it will completely destroy any chance of Kevin Holland winning any type of decision. Normally in a lot of fights, almost on average, Kevin Holland usually has like a 4 or 5 inch reach advantage on average. But you know, but what his opponents have learned over the years is that, I mean, the way to beat Kevin Holland is by getting close, getting dirty, and neutralizing his range. And now, like I said, Kevin Holland is a black belt, but a lot of times, you know, these grapplers that he's matched up with are just better. I mean, and but in this fight specifically, Holland has a 4-inch height advantage and a 9-inch reach advantage against Gunnar Nelson. And you know, and he's dropping down to middleweight this time, and most of his success came in middleweight. So you know, his goal, what he needs to do is he just needs to stay off the mat. He needs to utilize his range and keep Gunnar Nelson at bay, because Gunnar likes to keep his hands down. So as long as he keeps Gunnar Nelson at distance and lands a lot of volume on him as defend takedowns, I mean, Holland should walk away with this. You know, he is a black belt out of Travis Slaughter BJJ, but I'm sorry, when he goes on the ground with a guy like Gunnar Nelson, I just don't have a lot of confidence in him. So you know, and unfortunately, I don't think we're ever going to see Holland in the top 15 rankings ever again. So, but another thing that we have to notice, I think this is the biggest factor in where I'm making my pick here. It's just Holland is the more active fighter. I mean, Gunnar Nelson, he hasn't fought since 2023. Whereas, you know, Holland has fought several times in the past several years. You know, he hasn't fought since 2023. Gunnar hadn't, and that fight, I mean, I bet on him. He was a heavy favorite against you know, aging and withering away Brian Barberena as a -385 favorite. I mean, he armbarred him in round 1. Very easy fight. You know, very easy win for him. And, you know, there was also, you know, he had one fight in 2022 where he dominated Takashi Sato as a -520 favorite. So it seems like Vegas and bettors know exactly what they're going to get whenever he goes and, you know, he goes into his matchups. But my main concern here is just how Gunnar Nelson just doesn't have a whole lot of activity in the past few years. Whereas Kevin Holland seems to fight all the time whenever he can get something scheduled. So, but I really do feel like activity is going to be the factor here. I think that's going to be the determining factor here. And Gunnar not being active for as long as he had is a big concern for me. And but when we're going back, when we're talking in terms of, hang on, so. You know, let's talk about striking numbers. You know, Gunnar Nelson's striking numbers are vastly different from Holland's, and it kind of, you know, throws a concern out there is, you know, where does my confidence lie in Gunnar Nelson on the feet against a guy like Kevin Holland, a very rangy 9-inch reach advantage guy like Kevin Holland. Now, 1.84 strikes landed per minute for Gunnar Nelson compared to 4.22 per minute for Kevin Holland. Vastly different. So, which goes to show Kevin Holland likes to throw lots and lots of volume, and if he does that here, I think he could walk away with this. Now, if Gunnar can make this a close, very dirty fight, you know, and land takedowns and keep Kevin Holland on the mat, that we've all seen can be done and has been done before against an opponent like Kevin Holland, I think he can walk away with the win here, either by finding a submission or by just keeping Holland on his back for most of the fight. So, now, if Holland's going to win this fight, you know, it seems like he's gotten a little bit more serious in terms of how he's going in there. You know, I talked earlier about how he's, you know, he's talking to commentators, like in the middle of the fight, talking about his deep takedown defense, how it's improved, you know, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, it seems like he has gotten a little bit more serious, which is a good sign. So, like I said earlier, what Kevin Holland needs to do is he needs to utilize his range, take advantage of Gunnar Nelson keeping his hands down, you know, whenever he's on the feet. And I think, you know, if he lands enough volume, I think he will eventually find a shot, crack Nelson, and put him out. So, and, you know, and I got to say, this is a this is a win that I think Holland desperately needs, because now they're going to start, I think, talking about cuts and stuff, because you can only be a fan favorite for so long, and um, in order for the UFC, heads to be taking you seriously. So, but I don't know. I think Holland will still continue to be a fan favorite, but if he doesn't win this fight, I think they're gonna start talking about cutting him. So, with that being said, with as much as with that being on the line, I'd like to pick. I'm gonna go ahead and pick Holland to get the win here, even though I've already told you that I do not like betting on Kevin Holland. Because it's just, there's just a lot of, fight IQ is there, and it's just so easy for him to be taken down and controlled on the mat, even though he is a black belt. Now, that's not to say if he is taken down by Gunnar Nelson and controlled, that he can't fish out a submission, being a BJJ from Travis Lutter, but I think the odds are pretty slim on that. So, but also at the same time, I can't be laying minus 150 on a guy like Gunnar Nelson, who's had such a lack of activity in the octagon, when compared to a guy like Kevin Holland. But Holland's been fighting in middleweight. He's been fighting the bigger guys, and even though he has found, like I said earlier, more success as a welterweight, and size matters here. Size matters, especially in welterweight matchups. Gunnar's a natural welterweight, and whereas Holland can fight in both divisions. But yeah, no, I'm gonna have to say that I think Kevin Holland finally, he gets his head about him, and I think that he'll be able to utilize his range and keep Gunnar Nelson at bay. I think he'll win on striking numbers, and I'm not, I think it's safe to say Holland might get taken down maybe once at least, but I'm going to go ahead and pick Holland to win here, just because of how much bigger he is and just how much more active he has been in the octagon. So yeah, go ahead and give me Holland there. Now, in terms of bets, I don't know. Betting on Holland to win at plus 105 is really not. I mean, that's not the worst. That's not the worst bet out there. I also I think that's gonna I think he's gonna kind of fade more into like minus 105 territory, maybe minus 105 territory, maybe minus 110 territory if more money keeps on coming in throughout the week. But yeah, Holland to win plus 105. That's not the worst price tag I've ever, if I had to pick one. But also a couple interesting bets. Nelson by submission. Now, doing a double chance, we could pick Nelson by submission or Holland via TKO at minus 160. Or if you think Gunnar Nelson is going to control him the whole fight, with Holland, having a puncher, basically only having a puncher's chance throughout the whole fight, that's at plus 100. So, but I think the best bet here would have to be Holland to win at plus 105. I think that's the safest bet. But I just, unfortunately, Gunnar Nelson not being active and being so much smaller than Kevin Holland, there's just a lot of cause for concern there. But in that case, double chance is really not a bad way to go either. But also, actually, hold up, let me look up Nelson via submission or Holland via decision. That might not be a bad way to go. Yeah, so Nelson to win by submission or Kevin Holland to win by decision, minus 105. So pretty much the same thing. But yeah, this isn't really the best fight to bet on. But if I had to pick somebody, I think Holland would be the best way to win. I think he has the best bet to win. So okie dokie. So let's go ahead and move on. We're gonna go ahead to the women's strawweight division. We've got Meatball Molly McCann taking on newcomer Alexia Tainara. So Tainara is actually the favorite coming into the end. She's coming in at short notice as a minus 185 favorite, and McCann is sitting as a plus 150 underdog. Once again, we've got another English underdog fighting in front of their home crowd as an underdog, plus 150. So, I just want to talk about Tainara a little bit. Yeah, she's greener, but she currently is the number one ranked MMA fighter in the women's Central and South America region. That says a lot. So, and she was very dominant in her unanimous decision win on against Rose Conceição on Dana White's Contender Series. Now, and her only loss in her career, ironically, was actually against Bruna Brazil, which was way earlier in her career, who just got an upset victory against Molly McCann in July. So, and that McCann with that loss, based on an ESPN article that I read, she said that loss just, it really broke her. So she's really looking to come into this fight against Tainara with kind of a new sense of rejuvenation about her. So I'm kind of curious how that loss affected her, even though she says that she's ready to go again. But she supposedly had to take like kind of a McCann we're talking about had to take a pretty big had to take a month or two off from the gym. Like I said, she couldn't even come back there. So I mean, just having that kind of loss just take you to that kind of headspace. I mean, it's a little concerning. So but going back to Tainara, she kind of what she likes to do, from what I noticed in her fights, is she likes to keep the fight close, and she wants to get it to the ground as soon as possible. She's very crafty in the submission department. So now another thing I noticed is that on the feet she tends to be kind of wild, and by kind of wild I mean wild to the point where she leaves her head wide open to getting cracked. And now if she hasn't cleaned that up, ever since her ever since she was on Contender Series, I'm kind of curious how an aggressive fighter like Molly McCann could crack her with her striking, because McCann, she can hit hard for that division. So it's just, a fighter like McCann, I mean, she can crack her and do serious damage if Tainara is wild with her striking. So now, one thing I want to mention in terms of striking is that Tainara actually has a 5-inch reach advantage coming to this fight against McCann. So what she needs to do is she needs to utilize that reach advantage, not get too crazy, throw a lot of volume, but she needs to use that volume to set up takedowns and keep McCann on her back, because McCann is not very good off of her back. She has shown that time and time again. Now, as far as Molly McCann goes, I mean, she's hard to trust. From a betting perspective, she loves going in there and giving her fans a show. She is very much a fan favorite. I don't see her competing for the belt anytime soon in any sense, but she's a fan favorite. She's a UK fan favorite, and she's known all across that area. So now she has a very highly aggressive style. She likes to push forward, she likes to dirty box, and but the thing is, McCann, if she has any chance of winning this fight against Tainara as an underdog, she has to keep the fight standing. Bottom line, she cannot get taken down because, like I said, her ground game is atrocious. So, from a UFC sense, I'm sure she could submit me any day of the week. But now, when we're talking in terms of like path to victory, with Tainara, now if she can get this fight to the ground and keep it there, I think she'll have no problem winning. I think she, if she keeps Molly McCann on the back foot on the feet, she'll win. She's got a lot of paths to victory here, but now, however, I think McCann is going to win this fight. Like I said, she has to keep this fight standing. I mean, I think she has more experience on the feet. She easily has more UFC experience. That's a given. But I think McCann has better volume, better striking. She's better all around on the feet. And if she can find openings whenever Tainara gets, starts getting loopy, starts getting really wild, she doesn't like to move her head that much. So I mean, there is a good chance that that McCann can break her will on the feet by landing some seriously damaging shots, and and if she defends takedowns, especially desperation takedowns, if she's, winning the fight on the feet going into round 2, I think McCann has a very good chance of taking away this fight via decision or even via knockout. So now, but yeah, once again, McCann has little to nothing to offer in terms of a ground game. So as far as the definitive pick here goes, I'm going to go ahead and go with well, no, not Kevin Holland. I'm going to go ahead and go with Tainara here, but I'm leaning on it ever so slightly just because you know, McCann really does have a shot of a knockout here. And I think this fight is a lot closer than the lines suggest. I think we're at a, yeah, like I said, you know, Tainara is sitting at minus 185 favorite, and McCann is the plus 150 underdog. You know, I just, you know, I'm going to have to slightly lean with Tainara here, but I don't know if I'm going to lay minus 185 on her. There's just too many red flags, I guess you can say, in her game for me to be confident in picking Tainara. But McCann definitely has a shot to win here. You know, I think these odds are more like a coin flip in my opinion, just because you have the experience of McCann going up against, you know, how green Tainara is in the UFC, but Tainara is definitely experienced enough to get the win here. I mean, no doubt. But Tainara just has more tools in her kit to get the job done, and you know, against somebody who has a very questionable ground game in Molly McCann. But you know, I wouldn't be shocked at all if McCann does happen to pull off a win here. But either way, in terms of bets, I don't think I can lay, like I said, I don't think I can lay down minus 185 on Tainara to win on the money line. But in terms of, but I thought there was some double chance. There was a double chance I thought was interesting. McCann via decision or Tainara via submission is plus 115. I mean, both definitely could happen. Now, the fight to end in a finish, a lot of the odds makers are thinking this is going to go to decision, but you know, I mean, this happens to end in a finish via submission or a Molly McCann knockout. It's plus 145. So, I think out of all the bets there, I think that one's the safest, most interesting. Now, Tainara via submission plus 400 if you're looking to be brave, and Tainara via decision is plus 120. So I think all of those are better prices than minus 185 for Tainara to win. And just for shits and giggles, I kind of want to look and see what the knockout prop is for Molly McCann, because that possibility's there. Let's see here. Molly McCann to win via TKO plus 700. So, I mean, you're looking to be brave. Now's the time to do it. I mean, that's I think like on a low dollar parlay, I think McCann via knockout would be good to take a stab at. But yeah, my pick is Tainara slightly, but it would not shock me to see Molly McCann pull off a win in front of her hometown crowd. Okie dokie. So next up, we have a fight in the featherweight division with Jordan Vucenic versus Chris Duncan. Yeah, lightweight division. So the Englishman Vucenic. I'm going to go with Vucenic. Let's go with Vucenic here. He's sitting as a pretty heavy favorite, minus 345, and we have the Scotsman Chris Duncan sitting at plus 275 underdogs. So you know, classic English versus Scotsman, and this is kind of a grappler versus striker matchup. Now Vucenic has a slight 2-inch reach advantage, while both are pretty much equal in size. There is a lot of money coming in for Jordan Vucenic earlier in the week, and I anticipate him becoming going into minus 400 territory as a favorite, probably by the time the fight starts. So yeah, we missed our opportunity to bet on him. But you know, let's go ahead and start with Vucenic. I mean, he's, you know, very good grappler, very good striking, just very good all around. His last 5 wins since 2022 have all come via submission on or before you know, the second round. During his time in Cage Warriors. So, and I gotta say, he looked pretty damn good in his UFC debut against Guram Kutateladze, who trains with Kamzat and all those other crazy dudes. And he does have pretty good power in his hands, and he can generate a lot of volume. He has excellent takedown defense, from what I noticed. But he's definitely the rightful favorite in this matchup in front of his hometown crowd. Has a lot of tools to win this fight. Now, he did make some questionable decisions in the grappling department. But luckily for him here in this matchup, he's facing more of a striker slash wrestler here in Chris Duncan. Now, Chris Duncan, when I've seen, the guy can hit really hard. He loves getting into 3-round wars on the feet, getting as bloody as possible. He has a very good chin. Has decent wrestling, but for this matchup, I think if he has any possibility of pulling off the upset, he has to keep this fight standing. So, also another thing that's notable is that Duncan has more UFC experience, so that could also play a factor here. But now, if Duncan's going to win here, lots of volume, and he has to defend takedowns that are definitely coming from a guy like Jordan Vucenic, who he wins his wars on the ground. So, but the thing is, it's just Vucenic, he's very good on the feet. So the possibility of a knockout is definitely live here from either side. But I think he's gonna have to. I think Duncan's gonna have to defend takedowns, and if he's gonna win this fight, he's gonna have to get Vucenic out of there early. Now, Vucenic, like I said earlier, multiple paths to victory. He can win this fight on the standing. He can win the fight on the ground. He can, he can basically take the fight where he wants. So, I like what I saw from Vucenic in his UFC debut, and I'm actually gonna go ahead and pick him here. He's far craftier, but hey, this is MMA. So, Duncan easily has the power to put anybody in the featherweight division out. So, but based on what I've seen from Vucenic, I think he should win this fight in front of his hometown crowd. However, what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to place, what was it again? I think, minus 395. Not going to happen. I'm not, I don't care how confident I am in him winning. It's just minus 395. That's way too hefty of a price tag. And I think the odds are a little wider than they need to be, even though I do see more money coming in on Vucenic later in the week. So, that's where we're going to have to go tack some props here. So, now, I do see Vucenic winning this fight by a large margin. I'm not really sure how, since he has multiple paths to victory here. But I think it's pretty safe to say that the point spread at minus 3.5, sitting at minus 205, I think is a way better price than minus 395. Because keep in mind, Vucenic can win the fight and by any means, and you're getting basically you're getting him at half price. So, and I just don't think Duncan is going to be enough of a threat to him to, like, if this goes to decision, for example, I just don't think Duncan's going to be enough of a threat to him to bring the point spread even closer than that. So, it's also, minus 205 for the minus 3.5 point spread for Vucenic. I think that's going to be the best, safest way to go. Now, the fight to end in a finish, either side, is minus 180. I find that very interesting. Now, Vucenic to win by submission is also plus 180. So, yeah, there are 3 bets right there that are way better than laying, risking minus 395 on a guy that we just haven't really seen enough of yet. He's very, very good. I'm looking forward to where his career is going to take him, but it's just that's a little too risky on me. And also, I think laying plus 310 on a guy like Duncan, who really has only one path to victory here, is just a little bit too ambitious. So yeah, my pick here is going to be Vucenic. I mean, like, I can't really pick a exact method of victory for him here, because it's just he's got some room to work, but he's got several paths to victory. So, but yeah, I think it's safe to say that the minus 205 for the point spread for Vucenic, I think that's the safest bet. So, alrighty, so we're going to go ahead and go to our final fight of the main card, or the first fight of the main card, I should say. We've got Nathaniel Wood taking on, I don't want to mess this up, Morgan Charrier. It sounds so Texan when I say that. We've got Wood, another English underdog, I would like to say, sitting at plus 124, and Sharir is sitting at minus 150. So now I've seen a little bit of money coming in on Nathaniel Wood earlier in the week, and I think that's going to bring the money line odds a little bit closer together. Now it's, but however, odds makers are saying that this fight going to decision is sitting at minus 225. So, and I'm gonna have to agree with him here. I think both these guys are very decision heavy fighters. Now, when we're talking about Nathaniel Wood, I mean, he's got the, he's got the experience. Obviously, Charrier is kind of the newer guy. Nathaniel Wood, he's got everything in his arsenal. He can grapple, he can wrestle, he can strike, and he tends to lose very, very close decisions in his day. Let me go ahead and I don't know what's one good example. I mean, he just loses decisions. He lost against Muhammad Naimov back in 2023. Lost to Casey Kenny that was a fight of the night back in 2020. So, yeah, he's been active since then. He's got some notable wins against Charles Jourdain, Charles Rosa, Alex Caceres in grappling, Andre Fili, Daniel Pineda. So he's been staying relatively active, especially in 2024. He's had one fight in MMA, 2 fights grappling. So it's safe to say, I think if this fight ends up on the ground, Nathaniel Wood, I think, would have the advantage here against Charrier. Now, Morgan Charrier, he's got his most he's been in the UFC since 2023. His debut, he beat Manolo Zacchini via body kicks in round 1. He was a minus 345 favorite. And then he lost a very, very, very close fight against Chepe Mariscal back in 2024 in April, I should say, where he sat as a minus 140 favorite, but it got fight of the night. So it's just, when Charrier goes in there, it's going to be a war. It's safe to say. So now his most recent fight against Gabriel Miranda, where he was a minus 650 favorite, which, I mean, whenever you're a striker fighting against a guy like Gabriel Miranda who likes to pull guard constantly like they did in that fight, I mean, you're just asking to get put out. So there was no surprise to me that Charrier won the fight against Gabriel Miranda. But now whenever he's coming up against a guy like Nathaniel Wood, I do believe he is the rightful favorite here. I think minus 185 is a little steep, but which is he can't be sitting there now. There's no way. Minus 150, excuse me. So, but I mean, he's sitting at minus 150, with more and more money coming in on Nathaniel Wood as the week goes by. Just because, I mean, once again, we have English fighters who are underdogs in spots. It's just like, I don't know if they should be underdogs, but anyway, here we are. So, yeah, Wood definitely has more experience here, and I'm gonna have to pick him to get the win here, but I just want to point out that Charrier hits very, very hard and is very well-rounded as well. So with that being said, I see this fight definitely going to decision. I think if anybody's going to get a finish here, it's going to be Wood via submission or Charrier via knockout, which in terms of betting, like I said, laying plus 125 on Nathaniel Wood to win, I don't think is a terrible price. But it's just I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I'm going to go ahead and make my pick as Nathaniel Wood here because I just, he's got more experience. I think he's better all around, and I think he's got more to offer on the ground than Charrier does if he does get it down there. So now the fight to go now for the fight to go the distance, it's sitting at minus 225. I mean, if you want to be safe, I think that's good. That's a good one to go with if you're doing parlays. A little risky, but I think it's a pretty safe bet because both these fighters love going to decision. Now, Nathaniel Woods. Now, the point spread from Nathaniel Wood I thought was also interesting at plus 3.5 because, if you're picking Nathaniel Wood to win this fight and maybe even get a submission, I mean, he's going to hit that plus 135. And it's at minus 175. But I think out of all the bets on this card, I think that's the safest one. So, like I said, Nathaniel Wood at the point spread of plus 3.5 at minus 175. I think that's the safest bet in terms of as far as this fight goes. Now, now here's another statistic I found interesting. Now, Sherrier to win via finish is at plus 300. Now, the reason I'm bringing that up, even though I did pick Nathaniel Wood to win, is because 9 out of 10 Sherrier's losses came via decision. I mean, that's 9 out of 10 losses. That's not something you could ignore. So, that means whenever this fight goes to decision, Sherrier tends to lose. The judges tend to not look at him favorably. So, so if he's going to win this fight at all, I really do think that he needs a finish. I don't see him getting a submission unless he rocks him and then takes the back. But now another bet I'm kind of curious to see like what a double chance would be here. For Nathaniel Wood and Sherrier in terms of So, I mean, I think Nathaniel Wood to get a finish here. I think he has a better chance via submission. So Nathaniel Wood via submission and Morgan Sherrier to win via Morgan Sherrier to win via TKO is at plus 240. Not a bad price. Not a bad price at all. So and also we've got Nathaniel Wood via decision or Sherrier via TKO at minus 135. That's also not a bad bet. So. Yeah, that pretty much I think that's about it. So just to kind of go over my picks again. So for Edwards Brady, I picked Edwards. Blachowicz versus Oldberg, I picked Oldberg. Holland versus Nelson, I picked the underdog Holland. And for McCann versus Tainara, I picked the favorite Tainara. Then Vucenic versus Duncan, I picked the favorite Vucenic in front of the UK crowd. And then I picked Wood to get the win versus Sherrier. So let's see. So that marks. So out of all them, out of those 6 fights, I'd have to say for somebody to get, I don't know. I feel like one of these English fighters is losing, and I think the most likely one is easily going to be Molly McCann. Which is unfortunate. I know she has a lot of heart. She's a fan favorite, but I don't think she's not going to be fighting for the belt anytime soon. But I expect that to be a good fight. But I think Tainara is going to get the victory there ultimately. Okay, well that about wraps it up. So I want to thank everybody here for tuning in. This is the second episode. We're going to do. I believe we're going to do our third episode over UFC 314. Eric, my co-host, is going to be back for that. We're going to be going live for that as well. So I just want everybody to let you all know. Thank you very much for tuning in. Please please subscribe. It helps the channel grow that much more. And I look forward to doing these weeks and weeks on end. I really enjoy breaking down fights and going over bets. It's just because betting on fights is fun. Watching fights is fun. But iPokes are not fun. So let's hope we avoid those. I've been jolly old UFC London. So I'm going to let you guys.